My name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup Misfit and welcome to Project Level Up. Before I dive into this update, we're just going to do a little bit of a recap, especially since I had taken the month of May off. So I've been using this little notebook to try to keep track of the shades, what I'm hitting pan on, and how many uses it's taking. So I'm currently on level 2, which was rolled in back in April. So when I started this project, I think it was in January, this is basically the layout of what I'm doing. I'm drawing out the palette, writing out the names, trying to keep track of how many times I use each shade. So for level 1, I had rolled in my Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. My goal was to use every shade one time and hit one pan. I had completed that and I had rolled in my level 2 palette back in April, I believe it was, and I rolled in my Naked Honey palette from Urban Decay. So my goal for this, to use every shade twice and hit 2 pans in here. Now I wanted to just kind of let it go, see which shades I gravitated towards. I knew that using the matte shades in here was going to be super easy because when I used to use this palette a lot, like quite a few years ago when I first purchased it, as I mentioned when I rolled this in, I would use every single matte shade in this palette at the same time. So I got my 2 uses on all of my mattes really quickly. That is how I ended up using them. And then it was just working on those shimmers because I actually had not used any of the shimmers in this palette until I rolled it into this project. So before I open up the palette to show you guys what it's looking like, I am going to let you know that I have completed my 2-use goal on every single shade. A couple of the shimmers were a little bit harder to use than others, I'm not gonna lie, but I have officially reached my goal on using every single shade in this palette twice. Now, when I was trying to figure out what shades I wanted to wear and focus in on to hit pan on, there's definitely quite a few shades that I would use in a look together, a mixture of mattes and shimmers, and I'm going to show you guys what this palette is looking like currently. So here we go. So I don't know if you're going to be able to tell currently. I will move this up ever so slightly, but a lot of what I had used, you can see a good amount of usage in here, but I definitely reached for this matte shade in my inner crease. And then I would kind of rotate between these two matte, in like this was more like my transition, these two were kind of like my crease into my outer V, and then sometimes I would top my outer V with this deeper matte as well. Now I definitely use this more than twice. I have everything in here, but I'm going to tell you right now that the numbers are not correct. I've probably used them more than the amount that has actually been written in here, but I tried my best to keep track. So we're going to move this up and you guys can hopefully see that I have hit 2 pans in this palette as well, which is so exciting because I really wasn't sure how long it was going to take to hit pan in one of these Urban Decay shades. I knew the mattes were going to take a long time, so even though I had reached for this shade quite a lot, like you can see, hopefully you can see some usage. You can see a little bit right above at the top of the pan there's a little bit of side pan showing. I knew that hitting pan on one of these mattes, even though I used it every single day or as much as I possibly did in conjunction with any of these other shades, it was going to take a lot longer to hit pan on. So the first shade we're going to chat about is Flyby, and that is the one that I hit pan on first. I use that in my inner corner. It's a very small pan. I had done like the one eye and then I had noticed I hit pan, did the second eye, and I think I probably maybe used it one time after that. Have not reached for it. I kind of let that one go, but I did enjoy using this in the inner corner when I did so. I'm going to try and see if I can find it in here. I'll show you guys. This is what my little layout looked like. So I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 28 times, but it's more than likely over 30. So I would not take that 28 as correct. Sweet, which is the matte beside it that I used all the time, I only have marked down as 19 uses, and I can guarantee you that was more than that as well. So everything else in this palette, the only shades that I used the 2 times I had to was 5 shades, so about half this palette. So I had used Amber, Keeper, Golden, Honey, and Queen. Those were the only shades in this palette that I used twice. Everything else was over that. Pretty well over that. I have marked that I only used Swarm, which is this the third shade here, 5 times. I probably maybe used it a little bit more than that, but everything else was like well above the 2 use mark. Now we're gonna go to this side of the palette, and as you can see, the other pan right in there in HBIC, I have marked down that I've used that one 23 times. That one was probably more as well. But this one I used all over the lid. So whereas this one I was using like a pencil brush, but like more or less the side of the brush. This one I feel like took a lot longer because this one I just kind of like brushed my brush in there. And I got more product on it, but I could see the dip coming, and I thought I still had a little bit of a ways to go before I actually hit pan in there. But I went to go use it one day, hit pan, and I was so excited. I'm like, I can let this palette go off to the side now. It was definitely not like I felt like I needed to use this palette, but I tried to use this as much as I could. It wasn't a palette that I felt was like difficult to use, or there's a word that I'm trying to think of that's not coming to mind right now. It wasn't a hassle. It wasn't like, it was easy. It was easy to use. I did try to focus on this as much as I could, and I'm happy that I managed to get the 2 pans in here hit, along with hitting my usage goal of 2 times in every shade. So I get to roll this palette out, which means we get to roll in my level 3 palette. And if you are aware, I have all of my palettes sectioned off, whatever you want to call it. I'm just blanking on words today. They're all categorized under each level. So I only have 3 palettes to choose from for level 3. And I'm excited about no matter which palette I get. Now, I do want to just say that I think one of these palettes I may have kind of mixed up a little bit with some other singles. We will deal with that if we come to that. But there is one palette in here that I'm really excited, actually 2 that I would be really excited to use. But my 3 options is the Lunar Beauty Nude Prism palette, which I would absolutely love to get. The Gimme Glow Coral Nightlife palette, I think that's the one where I kind of switched out a couple of shades with other shades from, I want to say it was the Summer Vibes palette. So that's not the exact palette, every shade in there type of thing. And then the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2, even though it's more of a rosy palette and I'm not quite a big fan of it with this hair color, I do want to compare the Major Dimensions 2 to the Major Dimensions 1 formula, which is currently my Pan That Palette in Order palette, which there will be an update coming for that one on the 14th. So enough rambling, because I don't know how to speak today. And we are going to randomize 1 through 3, and we are going to find out what palette I'm going to be working on for level 3. Nope, wrong one. Nope, go away. Okay. All right, 1 through 3, cross your fingers. Let's see what we get. Number 1. Oh, and then it decides to roll again, but we're going with number 1. You guys saw that. That is the Lunar Beauty Nude Prism palette. I am so excited. That's the one that I wanted, like, the most. It's a nude palette. Let me go grab that, and I will be right back. All right, so this is the palette. This is what the outside looks like. Absolutely beautiful, and this is the inside. So, just one little note that I'm going to throw out there is this black shade I'm not going to use. I've said it a million times. I'll say it once more. I don't wear black eyeshadow. I'm not going to use it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18 shades in here. So only 17 shades are the ones I'm going to be focusing on. Everything else in here is game, just not the black. Now, I need to use every single shade in here 3 times, and I need to hit 3 pans. So what I'm going to continue to do is just let it flow. I'm not going to pre-choose my shades. I'm just going to see what happens, what I gravitate towards, which shades I tend to use more than the 3 times. And those are the ones that I feel like there's going to be the ones that I actually want to hit pan on. So I'm trying to connect words and it's not going very well today, guys. Oh my God. Okay. So out of 17, 3 of them are going to have pan. I am so excited because this little baby here needs to be shown a lot more love than what it has been. I've reached for this a few times, but definitely not as much as I wanted to. And I know because I threw it into this project, I categorized it into this project and into level 3. I knew that I didn't want to touch it, bring it into anything else. The palettes that I have in this project are specifically for this project. Same with Pan those eyeshadows, which you guys will see in a couple of days. And yeah, I explained all of that in the very beginning, so if you're curious, go check out those intros and you'll get a better explanation as to why I chose which palettes for which projects and blah, blah, blah. But I'm really excited and I'm happy that this is a level 3 palette. Obviously, I threw it in here for a reason, but I think that because it's such a neutral palette, using every shade in here 3 times is going to be easy peasy. Hitting 3 pans is going to be probably a little more difficult because I don't really know the formula too well. So I feel like once I get to kind of know the formula a little bit better, using every shade in here 3 times is going to help with that slightly. I'll be able to then decide if I want to like pinpoint which shades I want to hit pan on or just kind of let it go throughout the whole project and just see where the universe wants to take me to hit pan. Let's see how it goes. I'm not worried about it. I definitely think that some of these shades are going to be, I really do like these shimmers. So I think at least one, maybe this one, who knows? We're going to have to see how it goes, especially with summer coming up. Definitely a shimmer is going to have pan in it. Possibly and probably all 3 shades will be shimmers, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't think it's cheating. I don't think it's just easier. It's just whatever works. And if hitting pan in all of the shimmers is what works for me, for this currently or just in general, then it is what it is and that's that. But I'm really, really excited that this is the palette. I am so happy to get a lot more love on this palette. People are cutting their grass. I need to go cut my backyard. So I should be doing that soon. But this is it. So let me know if you have this palette, if you've used this palette, or if you've used any other Lunar Beauty palettes. The only other one that I have is this very first one, the Life's a Drag palette. And the formula is not the same. So any of the other palettes in this type of packaging that he came out with, like well after that Life's a Drag palette, let me know if you guys have them, what you guys think of them, and how you think of the formula. Let me know which 3 shades you think I should hit pan on, because I'd be curious to see. And that is it. So I'm so excited to be leveling up in this project. I'm so excited that I managed to hit 2 pans in this naked palette. That was like probably the highlight. And I'm excited to just continue on and see how far I can get in this project this year. So that is everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you all later. Bye.